What up, people? It's Job Wigs, all about the biz. You know what it is. It's Wednesday. It's 8 p.m. So you know what that means. It's all about the EPG biz talk behind the brand. As you can see, we are in the studio today and we are here after a long weekend. As you know, if you've been tuned into what's going on, if you've been tuned into the EPG network, we just came off day one and day two of the fifth annual Durham Region Holiday Marketplace, taking place, taking place at the Ajax Community Center. Now, that's not it, people. As you know, this is a 3 day event, so we want you all to remember that coming up next, coming up Sunday, December the 10th, is day three, the final holiday shopping day of the season. It's all about the fifth annual Durham Region Holiday Marketplace, day three. We got 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. local shopping, great entertainment, and much more. People, we have over 35 vendors who have prepared their goods, who have taken their time to craft their products for you, the people. So we got to reach out and show them love. Also, people, I want you guys to look out this weekend, this Saturday. It's all about Dr. Patsy's birthday bash, a thing that she's calling Righteous Warrior. It's the red, gold, and white fur edition, also celebrating the birthday of all Scorpios and Sagittarius. People, don't think that's it. We want you guys to be updated as to what's going on. If you've been tuned into my social media, we just recently dropped an announcement. It's all about the Manifest Bookstore new store launch. They have a new store located in East York Shopping Mall, located on Overly Boulevard, and we are assisting Manifest Bookstore with their store launch. So if you're an author, if you're a writer, if you're looking to get your stuff out there, we are hosting events December the 16th, as well as in the middle of January and the middle of February. We're going to be showcasing local authors, doing book signings, book readings, and we have some special features for the holiday edition taking place December the 16th. So look out for that. And just to give you guys a little bit more information, the launch date is December the 16th. We have the second edition taking place January 10th, 2024, and we're rounding it out on February the 13th for the Black History Month edition. This event is Manifest Bookstore in collaboration with Team EPG. So, you know, when we do it, we got to do it big and we got to do it proper. So, we have lots of events coming up. We want y'all to be in tuned as to everything that's going on. So, like I mentioned, we have the Manifest Bookstore launch also happening in early February. The one night only special event returns, a thing I like to call Lively Up Yourself, celebrating the birthday of reggae icon, reggae legend, Bob Marley. People, you think that's it? You think that's it, people? We also have coming up this March, the March break edition of the Fantastic Book Fair, where we will have the return of the Youth Spelling Bee, we will have the return of the Creative Arts Contest, and much more. People, with all that's going on, with all this up and down, with all this up and down, you got to make sure that you're staying healthy every day. In order to stay healthy, you got to eat healthy. And eating healthy also involves drinking healthy. With that being said, I want y'all to check out Natural Reset Juices. Over 6 delectable flavors to keep you healthy, cold pressed to give you the best. In addition to feeling healthy, you know, you always gotta look your best as well. So if you're looking for that fresh cut, make sure you hit up Arthur's Hair Design and Barbershop in the Ajax community, located in the central area of Pickering Village. We got a Tuesday special, student special, as well as a VIP discount card to keep you looking fresh and feeling fresh. And people, you know what I like to say? Don't just believe there's good in the world. Sometimes you got to take time and be the good in the world, right? So, as you know, this is EPG Behind the Brand, where we like to talk to different entrepreneurs in the city. We like to get behind the brand. We like to get behind the label. We like to get behind the products to get some more information about some of these great entrepreneurs and their success stories. So, you can find us right here on YouTube. You can find us right here on Facebook. You can find us right here on Instagram weekly. And if you are listening and watching, no matter what platform you're on, we want you to remember to like and share this video. So if you're on Instagram, get in that share button, send this out to your list. Same thing if you're on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, make sure you like, follow, and share this video to a friend. Today we are going to be speaking with Justin Louis St. John. But before we get into the interview, everybody's always talking about branding this, branding that, branding this, branding that. But rarely does anybody ever talk about what a brand actually is. So I think it's only fitting that we take some time to discuss what a brand is. So we have a little pre-recorded thing. We're going to play that, then we're going to get back to the show. Let's go. So we always have to remember that with branding, a branding is not just a logo. Branding is not just a name. A brand is a part of your trademark. It's not just a trademark. It's not a symbol or a jingle. A brand is part of you. It's part of your business. So to understand what a brand is, you must first understand that your brand does not exist in your marketing department or your public relations team or your CEO's office. A brand only exists in the minds of your customers. So simply put, a brand is the sum total of all of the impressions that a customer has based on every interaction that they had with you, your company, your products. Each time these interactions tells a story to your customers. So if your customer believes that a product is new and innovative, then these attributes become part of your brand in the customer's mind. If your packaging is beautifully illustrated, they may view your brand as sophisticated or elite. On the other hand, if your service is poor, customers may think that you're stubborn or rude. If your print materials are designed in Microsoft Paint, you may look cheap and amateur. So to manage your brand, you always want to decide on your brand image, and then you want to make sure that all of the interactions with your customers are aimed towards that brand. So that will flow through your website, that throws through your printing, that throws through your social media ads. You always want to make sure that everything you're doing relates to your brand and to the image that you're trying to convey. So why is that important? Why is branding important? Because proper branding elevates your brand. It elevates your brand. People make purchasing decisions or more based on the brand. And I showed you those examples with the t-shirts and with some of the cups. All right, people. So now that we know what a brand is, what a brand involves, we're going to throw all that out the window just for a moment, and we're going to take you behind the brand. Because as you know, the brand is what the entrepreneur, what the company decides to put out there forward facing for the public. So a brand may seem sophisticated, but that doesn't mean that the owner is necessarily sophisticated. A brand may seem playful and cheerful, but that doesn't mean that behind the brand the feeling is the same. So that's what this show's about. We're going to get to the who's, the what's, the where's, the when's, the why's, and the how's to find out some of the success stories behind some of the GTA and surrounding areas growing entrepreneurs. Now again, if you're tuning in on the Facebook, you're tuning in on the YouTube, or if you're tuning in on the Instagram, we want you to keep the chat line busy. We want you to make sure you put your business name in the comments so we can shout you out through the live. And again, if you have any questions while we're doing the show, feel free to post them in the chat and we will answer them as quick as we can. So like I said, today we have a special guest in the building. We will be speaking with Justin Louis St. John, and I believe he is here in the green room. So let's bring him on without any delay. Justin, good evening, brother. How's it going today?
I'm good. I'm good. My name, by the way, is Justin Louis Jean.
What did I say? St. John.
Yeah, just
Sorry,
drop
sorry.
off
I
the
have a
Saint.
friend with that last name. I have a friend with that last name. So I apologize.
It's
It's
okay.
Justin Louis Jean. I met Justin a couple months ago when we were when we were setting up the LA campaign, and it's been nothing but joy and pleasure since. So, Justin, how's your evening? How was your weekend? And how's everything with you going so far?
So far, so far everything is actually going pretty well. Uh, I don't know if you know about this, but since I actually met you, my book has gotten an award. So I submitted it to the International Book Awards in of this year, and it got top five in its category, which was education. So my book is now an award winning book
All
about
right. Well,
the
all right.
education system. Yes.
Well, let me first say congratulations on the award. I love to see when entrepreneurs are taking that next step forward and progressing themselves and progressing their work. So we're gonna get into more about the award. We're gonna hear about that, but we don't want to jump the gun. So I like to start at the basics so everybody can know what's going on. So the first question I would like to ask you, Justin, is who are you? Who is Justin, and what's your background?
Hoo. So my background is Haitian and Trinidad. So my dad's from Haiti, and my mom's grandparents are from Trinidad. My mom was born here, so I had the fortune to be born here. My parents are both here, so I got the fortune to be born here. I have two siblings. They're both younger, but they're taller than me, so it's kind of complicated. And so that is who I am. I went to school. I recently graduated from college in social work, and I always had a passion for writing. So after that, I decided to actually not after that. During my high school year, I started by writing my first book, which is this one I have out now. And throughout the years, I was just working on it, working through it. I got my friend on board, and we kind of decided to do a co-authorship, and here we are.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that. I also want to take a quick second to shout out Theo's creation on the Instagram. Shout out to Steady Vibes, tuning in, commenting early on the YouTube. So, Justin, now that we know a little bit about your background, we know you're Haitian, we know you're Trinidadian. Um, what or who inspired you to become an author?
You know, I guess I could say, in a way, myself. And the reason why I said that is because I mentioned that, well, I didn't mention it. I used writing to get out of I guess, tough time when I was like feeling sad, depressed, and everything. And it was always in me. I started with writing short stories, started writing poems. I shared it with my parents, my friends, and they found it good. So it was a craft that I was working on. They said, "Why don't you, try to find it, publish it, try to find it, get it out there." And so that started my writing journey. As opposed to the book itself, like that's when I went to school, discovered that there was kind of a problem. Not necessarily that was a problem, but went through the school system. I started writing other books actually, and I came across a book, not a book, a video called Six Problems with the Education System. And as I was looking at that video, I found myself reacting to a lot of the problems. So I said, well, let me put this book on hold. Let me put the big book on hold and write about this. And I just drafted it and got my friend on board. He was first an editor, and then afterwards he became more involved, and he eventually co-authored it with me.
All right, perfect, perfect. So I love how you mentioned that early. So your initial book, your inaugural book, you do have a co-author. So who is your co-author, and how did you guys decide to collaborate on this book together?
Uh, Wish he was here, but he's probably busy doing. Actually, he's busy doing his midterm. Actually, his name is Pierce Mortensen. Y'all could find him on Instagram. And so basically, we started off as friends. We met at the same high school, and after high school, we decided not actually after high school. While in high school, we were part of the same friend group, and we kept in touch all throughout high school. After high school, and as friends do, we talk about our aspirations, goals, and dreams, and all that. And he mentioned to me that he wanted to write a book, and more of the like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter type stuff, more fictional and very in depth of character development. Then after as time went by, he realized that writing a book and as at that intensity is not as easy as he thought it would be. So I said, you know what? I have a book. I have a draft of a book that I've been working on. It's not in your field. It's the psychology behind education. I figured that since we're both students, we could look at it and see what we think. And so I invited him as an editor at first. And over time, he started to get very involved and very implicated in what I was doing. And so slowly but surely, he inserted his ideas and then we molded into what is now a co-authorship.
All right, so I'm gonna jump from the who's first. I'm gonna go to the what's, and then we're gonna circle back. So what is the title of your book, and what is the book about?
So the title is called Academic Revolution, and it's a analytical approach to the Canadian to the psychology behind education. And when I say that, I talk about well, since I'm from Canada, I focus on my journey through school, but I also make parallels to different school systems and different even prison systems, like in chapter two. I talk about the close link between certain school systems and certain prison systems in various countries such as China, Japan, US, and Finland. And throughout that chapter, you see how their prison systems and their school systems kind of are very similar, actually.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah, very similar. So there's that approach. There's also the multidisciplinary approach that I don't focus solely on my journey. I focus on making it relatable to all the main audience, which is students, parents, teachers, and educators. So in that book, I tailor message to teachers, tailor message to educators, parents, students, and yeah.
All right, thank you very much. So you mentioned that the book is for students, teachers, educators. So that kind of segued into my next question as to who are your target readers. But with a topic like this, how were you able to effectively tailor the writing to engage all those different audiences? Because a student may look at the education system different than an educator, different than a parent. So how did you tailor the book to capture all those different audiences?
Well, to answer that, basically, I went through my own journey, and I reflected on my journey, and I saw, okay, if you're looking at it this way, let me ask you why you're looking at it this way. And if I'm looking at a certain way, I could see where I can meet you in the middle. And it's that mediation that I write about in my book. So I'll talk to different teachers, talk to my parents, talk to my friends, my some classmates, and kind of put something together that englobes a greater perspective to present.
I like that. I like how you're leveraging the people around you, the people close to you, your family, your friends, the people in the system that you know, in order to figure out the best way to put that back out there to the reader. I think it's very important to get information from the people you have access to. So I want to shout you out about that. Now, with a topic like this, so deep and so that can be so technical, who are your own literary role models when it comes to writing or business or the education system? Are there people that you looked at in order to kind of pinpoint certain parts of the book?
Mm. Well, one person that not necessarily well, I'll get into the literary part a bit later, but one person I really look up to is actually two people, my parents. It, like you're probably gonna hear this and it probably goes without saying, but parents really give or should give the gift to their child to grow, develop at their own pace. and I truly believe that that's what they're giving me. I'm not tall. Like I said, my siblings are taller than me. They're younger than me, but taller than me. However, we were all given the space and time that we needed to grow. I I grew obviously a bit later because I'm short, but the point is, my parents never really pressured me into things I did not want to do. Now, of course, during school you had to go through math, and I hated it. I had 3 years of it. I had enough, but because of that, my parents really they told me, okay, you have to go through these, 3 years of math. We'll help you. We'll support you in the way we can. We'll help you with your homework. We'll sit beside you. We'll provide you a tutor, all this and all that. And when it does not become mandatory, you don't need to take it. It's not our standard. We don't have a standard on you. As long as you're happy with what you're doing, we'll support you and we thank you for that. And that's the big reason why I look up to my parents and I love them. And yeah, so when I graduated college, right? I also told myself I didn't want to go to university. But hearing them say you don't have to go to university was also relieving, because I was like, okay, what am I going to do with that? Now that I'm not in university, I want to see what I could do with my book, leveraging my stuff, and they're giving me the time and freedom to do that, which is again amazing. So first and foremost, I'm going to shout my parents for that.
Definitely. I love that. I love that. Again, I love the fact that you're going back to family. You had the support from your family and you didn't take it for granted. You said when you heard that when they gave you the blessing to say you didn't have to go to university, you didn't just sit there and say, all right, I'm gonna sit home and twiddle my thumbs. You used that same energy, that same time in order to focus on your book and get that part sorted out. So who are your did you want to speak about your
Yeah,
literary role models?
now I'm going to speak on that part. So when it comes to role models, there was an author that I look up to by the name of Jay Shetty, and he actually has two books that I reference a couple times here and there in my own book, and he is someone who I look up to for writing, for inspiration, for he has a podcast as well that I listen to regularly, and he interviews great guests that offer very insightful tips. And yes, that is someone I look up to in terms of literary story.
All right, perfect. Thank you for that. So, as you mentioned, you have a co-author with this book, Pierce Morstan, right?
Mortensen, but yes,
Mortensen. So,
yeah.
how was that overall process of collaborating on a book together and sharing ideas and also deciding, all right, we're gonna run with your idea, we're gonna run with my idea. How was that whole process overall?
Again, I wish he was here because I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I'll try my best. So the way that we did it was like, I think there was an underlying thing that this is my book. Like at first, like when we did the first edit, like he was first reading it just to understand what my standpoint was. He wasn't really going full on and trying to edit things from the jump. He first read it and just understood my perspective, and then took the time to like actually put himself in my shoes to understand where I was walking to. Right, he didn't judge me right away from that, and so slowly but surely we were able to meet in the middle of certain things. And I think when it came to anything that was my like perspective, we didn't really touch. He was more on the research and analytical side of it. So he was more the research and making sure that I wasn't doing anything illegal, like doing illegal copyright and all that. So he was very good with that. So we did that. That was majorly what he was doing. And afterwards, he was getting involved and putting his 2 cents on it. And also, if he would read something that I wrote and he could formulate it better, still try to keep my message, that's what we would do. Like he wouldn't try and like dismiss my ideas. He would try his best to reformulate what I would say.
You know what, I would love to just commend you both on that process as well, because a lot of times when you have a co-writer or a co-partner, you can butt heads along the way trying to figure out what to get done. But based on what you've described, because it was your initial idea and you brought him in on it, he took the time to to read the book, to understand your perspective on things, before he was able to just jump in and say, do this, do that, do this, do that. And then, like you said, there were certain key aspects of the book that you wanted to stay firm on. And I love the fact that he didn't try to change your opinion on things. He was more so coming in to shadow you and to kind of help you where you needed the help. So I think your process as a duo, I love that approach. So I definitely want to commend you on that. I know he's not here to tell his story, but I love that approach, and I think that's part of why you were able to, get the thing done in such a good manner.
Yeah,
Um,
and Jamal, don't forget we were friends before we started this, right? So the fact that we were friends prior to this made it so that we didn't need to butt heads in the first place. Like even our disagreements was more like trying to shift our perspectives and try to see where we could come to a common ground. Like I remember telling him my puns are untouchable. I'm having puns in the book and that's fine. Okay, but since he knows that's my personality and that's how I talk, he's like fine.
yeah,
And if
because
you
he
read the
understood that going in, because he knows you personally. He knows,
exactly
all right, Justin will throw these jokes here and there, and he understand your view on those. So I
right,
love that.
but at the same time, if I'm going to say something like, for example, I have this vivid metaphor in chapter 6 that explains the way we process things. Right, I use the digestive system. Right, you eat food, you have the time to digest it. It processes. Your body naturally removes the unnecessary stuff and keeps the necessary stuff to function. That's exactly with education, right? You can ingest it, digest it, retain it, process it, and then apply it, right? But we still stuck with that digestive metaphor so we can make it easier to understand. And instead of him trying to scratch out that, he was able to elaborate on that metaphor to make it understandable, well, digestible, shall I say, to the readers.
I love that. I love that. I love how you're kicking in those metaphors here and there. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So we know the book is called The Academic Revolution,
No,
right?
I removed the article. It's just academic revolution.
Academic Revolution.
Yeah.
All right. So can you go into a little bit detail about what problem or need does your book address?
Okay. So the book itself has 8 chapters, 7 problems. Well, no. It has 8 chapters. No, seven. Sorry. So the first one is industrial age values, and that that chapter talks about how school was made to pump out a lot of people, graduate a lot of people to have them work on during the industrial revolution, right? So it talks about all that idea of memorization, doing what you're told, don't follow instructions, don't ask too much questions, etc., etc. And in that chapter, I make the parallel between school versus jobs. Then chapter 2, you have the lack of autonomy, which is a consequence of chapter 1. Because we're told to follow instructions, because we're told to not ask questions, because we're told to do what we're told, we don't have a sense of autonomy. We don't have a sense of individuality, and we can't know what we're good and what we're not good at. And that falls into chapter 3, which is inauthentic learning. Oh, and right before in chapter 2, I compare the prison systems to the school systems, and that's where you find all the similarities between different countries, which is Japan, China, Finland, and the US. Chapter 3 then falls into inauthentic learning, which is the fact that there are topics in the school system that we need to know in order to function as human beings. I'm sure all teachers know that. But then there are also a lot of classes that we take that we don't necessarily feel that they're either as important or they don't necessarily talk about the main focal points. One example, sure, it might be a bit biased, but math. You advance. You talk about You talk about functions. You talk about algebra. You talk about this, that, and the fourth. Okay, fine, cool. But you gotta forget, math was there to. It's basically to just equate stuff, right? Let's say we take money and we gotta calculate um, gas, right? You could use algebra for something simple, like if I have $50, I need X amount of gallons to be able to equivalent to $50. But that's a simple equation. But then you have more complicated things that you would never really use outside school or outside the tests. And that's the only place where those hard, those hard, what do you call it? Um, those hard, those hard, what's the word I'm looking for? Subjects are applied. And then once you've done that, you kind of forget it afterwards. But no, you gotta remember that school is a part of life, not the other way around. So school loves to prepare us for what's coming next. You go to elementary, like, oh, high school, college, and university. But then after that, it's like there's also everyday life as individuals, and you know, sure, yes, you could become the top engineer, the top mathematician, the top scientist, the top social worker, but there are still things that you are going to do like almost every other person on this planet. Pay taxes, for example. Yeah, sure, there's tax brackets, but it's only that 1% or like 5% that make so much money that they don't need to pay taxes. So if you're not in that percent, you're going to pay taxes. You need to know how to budget your money, which is something we don't necessarily talk about. You need to know how to maintain friendships. Because, like, a great example, Pierce and I wrote the book. If we didn't know how to maintain a friendship, we wouldn't be able to write this book. So, maintaining friendship is another good thing. Networking. If I didn't network properly, I wouldn't have met you. I actually wouldn't have met Eva Mitchell and family. I'm sure you interviewed her about her books, right?
Yes, and just to interject, I was actually like you said, the power of networking. You met me, you came to my event, and it wasn't till months after the event that I realized that even more connections were made because I seen her on her computer working on a book cover, and I said, "Hey, wait a minute. I know this book cover." And she was able to tell me that you guys were able to connect, and
Yeah,
she was able to help you kind of rebrand and recover the book and
yeah,
get that sorted out as well.
yeah.
So again, the
So
power of networking there.
exactly. So she redesigned the cover. She redesigned the thing. She made me the website. And yeah, so I took that to the next level. So power of networking. That's chapter 3. Chapter 4 then becomes can't find your passion. So out of all those classes you need to have, there's that extra pressure that you need to pass them. Not only take them, but then pass them. And then there's the fact that everyone wants to be the top best. So there's also that pressure that comes into play because of the grades, because of the internal pressure. You have the grades that pressure you, you have your parents that pressure you have the school system pressures you. Hell, even yourself, you pressure yourself sometimes. But that could also lead into burnout. So because you have to pass all those classes, you can't necessarily filter out what you like and what you don't. And even school does that. They try to filter out people who are not who can't keep up. They filter those out by making those classes super hard, so then those who fall behind, they fall behind. Those who are able to keep up at their own pace those who are able to keep up without help stay at the top level, and those who fall back because of how hard the classes are, they fall back and they miss out on potentially just making themselves smarter for their own good. So that's chapter 4. Then chapter 5, you can't you have the 9 different types of intelligences, so that we all learn differently, which is something that we all should know by now. I tackled the 9 types of intelligences by psychologist Howard Gardner in that chapter, and also I tackled the different ways people learn, either through visual, either tactile, either uh, um, visual, tactile, or just auditory, and how school doesn't necessarily adapt their learning to the for those people. Because again, like I understand it's one teacher for like 30 students, but again, you need that diversity in order for different students to thrive. Different students will thrive in different environments, and it's not fair to just put them all in one box in one environment and say, okay, here's a here's the picture, and this is what happens. And even though it's 30 students, you have 1 or 2 or 3 that are left behind. The other ones are full ahead, and then you got everyone else in the middle, not necessarily knowing how to progress. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So they kind of put a cookie cutter approach on it. So
Yeah,
like you said, you may have 30 students in a class, and all 30 of these students may have different levels of learning and understanding things.
exactly.
But the way they pressure you to just pretty much get it done, some of these students are so concerned with getting the task complete that they're not able to kind of get a tailored solution to how they want to learn or to what is best for them. So,
Precisely.
Justin, do you think this is by design, or is that coincidence
See, here's a funny thing though.
or
Going back to
convenience, I should say?
Well, yeah, going back to the first couple chapters, back to the first 2 chapters, and the reason why we had to put stuff in our head to just follow instructions is because like there was it was the Industrial Revolution. You had to do what you're told, follow instructions, and I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some times where it's beneficial. There's some times where you have to follow instructions because there's a leader and you follow just for things to go smoothly. But at the same time, if that leader does not know what to do and he maybe has to fall on his I guess followers. If the followers aren't independent enough to rise up to that occasion, what good are they? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so true. If the people you're looking up to aren't good enough to do their job and to tailor the solutions, then it's like you said, it's kind of a thing where everybody might lose or not, not be able to gain as they need
Precisely.
to.
Yeah.
So with trying to tackle the education system, trying to tackle talking about work and trying to talk about the jail system, like what challenges did you face when writing the book, if any?
Well, I'll tell you the last chapter of the book, and I'll tie it into that question. And the last chapter is lecture, which is essentially just I'm the teacher, I'm the best, I know everything, and y'all are the students, so y'all are gonna listen to me, even though technically I'm a regular guy like all of you. I have my life too. And so I check this. The teacher was able to learn the subject, right? They had to learn it and able to teach it. But the teacher has their own method in teaching and learning, right? They had to learn it through someone or something or the book to then teach it. They're teaching a subject in the way that they learned it, which is lecture, right? There are very few students who learn just by sitting and just not doing much and just listening to someone talk. I know that's what I'm doing, but you're asking me the questions, so it's fine. Point is, though, when it comes to the challenges I faced, I think it was just that. I remember when I was knocking on the doors to a couple publishers before I discovered self publishing. They were telling me about how I wasn't gonna get mass attraction because I'm just a simple guy and I'm just trying to write a book, and um, they how they know more than me because they're in that position. Yeah, it's true, but can you at least give me some tools that I could figure it out myself? Like instead of trying to finesse me out of $5,000, 6,000, they could tell me some avenues to take in order to become big myself, and then maybe collaborate in the future. And then the last chapter, or the seventh one, is the pandemic. And that one touches on how the pandemic just screwed it up for like a lot of people: school, jobs, relationships, going to events, supporting people. And that created kind of like a divide between a lot of people. So that's the book. You're on mute. Okay, there you go.
So with those challenges, how did you find that you overcame those challenges?
I think first and foremost, I overcame them by, again, remember how I said my parents are one of my biggest inspirations? Well, when I did my first interview on a radio show with my grandfather, my mom was there listening to me, and she was agreeing with a lot of things I said. She brought me there. We were in Florida, so she brought me to where my grandfather lived early in the morning to have me there for the time. So good job for I'm happy to her for that. And my dad, he brought me to my first author convention. And during that author convention, I met a guy named Michael Gazo, who was a French author, and he wrote a book on um, living with Tourette's, because it was his biography on living with Tourette's, and he was a self-published author as well. So I went up to him, I talked to him about my book and what I have, and he gave me the tools I needed to go my own way, go my own journey with Amazon KDP, and that's essentially how I started becoming a self-author, a self-published author.
All right, all right. Again, I love how when you face challenges, you didn't give up, you didn't quit. You're reverting back to again family, parents. You went to them for assistance. They were helping you with giving you real life answers on some topics that you needed, inquiries about. So again, I want to shout you out for that. Now, again, with a book of such a might say deep or in-depth topics talking about the education system, the prison system, and the working system, and how they all intertwine. What would you say is your long-term goal in writing this book? Was it more so just to release information that you wanted to get out there? Is there a change that you're hoping to see come with this? Are you planning on spreading this out to educators and so that they can again make positive change? What are some of your long-term goals?
So my long-term goal with this book, precisely, is to have it well known and probably practice most that we can, and put it in different schools and see it apply where it could be applied. Right? I think there's one spot in particular where I I I had my I had my college online, right, and that gave birth to recorded lectures, right? So students were able to control the lectures, speed it up, slow it down, and that is already helpful for a lot more students, right? Because going back to the lecturing chapter, if you have one teacher in front of all students talking, not being able to interject, ask questions, and all that, a lot of students are going to fall behind.
True.
With the fact that you have 30 students who are able to, on their own time, in their own pace, speed up, slow down lectures, actually understand it, maybe play it 3, 4 times because the teacher ain't gonna repeat it himself for some reason. So that's that's one way for that to help. Also, I remember when I was in college, I had students. No, I had yeah, there was classmates that were parents. So on top of that, that recorded lecture gave those parents that much more freedom to be in control of what they were learning and balancing that with their uh, their parenting job. So already right there, that's one great way to uh, to apply just like recorded lectures. And if you need, then you go to school with a teacher and maybe discuss on some things. So you have still that in person feeling, and then online you just have that just the long lecture stuff.
All right, makes sense, makes sense. So earlier on you mentioned that your book was self-published, right?
Hmm.
So what are your thoughts on self-publishing versus traditional publishing, and how did you really pinpoint and make the decision to choose self-publishing?
Well, how I chose to do self publishing was pretty simple. When I was approaching multiple uh, publishing houses, they were telling me prices that in my head I could not see feasible. So I'm like, if it's not left, it's right. If it's not right, it's left. It's one or the other. I'm gonna find it. So then when I went to that author, when I went to that author convention, the book fair, then I found that guy. I'm like, all right, if I can't do it this way, I'm gonna try it this way, and that way was a lot easier. And well, not well easier in the sense that I got the book out there. I have to market it myself, sure, but in that process, I could learn on the fly what it's like to market, budget, communicate, maybe make deals, network, all things that I wouldn't have learned if I were to just say here, uh,
If you were
um,
just to give it to somebody and say, "Hey, do this for me," then yeah, you wouldn't
precisely,
have exactly. I
precisely.
love that.
And again, I got something on my hands, which is time. I'm only 22. I got time to do this shit, right? I'm not in a rush to publish 5 books. Yeah, I got 5 in my head, but that will again take time. And this, I always tell myself, this one is gonna be the hardest, and my God, it has been. So since this is the first one, this is the one that I make my name around. So I gotta do this one well, and if I do this one well, the rest will follow.
The rest will fall into place.
And that is an advice I would give to like a lot of self-published authors.
Well, I love that. I hope we have some viewers there who might be thinking in that initial stage, all right, am I gonna pay the big money to get somebody else to do it, or am I gonna do it myself? And like you said, you also used self-publishing as a learning opportunity in order to learn a little bit about the process, learn how to network, learn how to market, and most importantly, also learn how to budget your money and in order to get things done. So, Justin, you also mentioned that you're only 22, and I say only because a lot of 22-year-olds don't dive into such topics so deep, right? Now, I could imagine a book like this must have taken months and months of research, hours and hours a day, right? Being 22, how first of all, how old were you when the book was published?
21.
21. So
Yeah,
Justin, what I think the readers would love to know is what does Justin like to do for fun? What do you like to do when you need to relax?
that's a good question. When I so for fun, I would do a lot of things. I would just go for walks, just listen to music. I would often work on other crafts, talk with friends, and oftentimes if I was with my friend and co-author, then I would like talk to him about the book or talk to him about the next marketing move or whatnot. And you know what? I kind of do. Sometimes I do this for fun. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes because again, it birthed out of a passion, which is writing, and it helped me through things. So if I'm able to help myself through what I've been through, and if my work could do that for a lot of people, then so be it. I'll do it. I also have a podcast that I do for fun too, though, if that is a better answer.
All right. So what kind of podcast is it?
So I have a podcast. It's available on all the all the podcasting streaming platforms. It's called Justin Words. It's a triple entendre though. And so on that podcast, I interview a lot of people. I interview professionals, and they give me insight on what they do, and I ask them certain questions that honestly have made them think so far. So I'm pretty happy with what I have accomplished.
All right, all right. So let me throw it on the casual tip again. So, Justin, what is your favorite type of music to listen to?
Ooh. All right, I'm gonna say something and then I'm gonna translate it for you.
All right,
Ukone say semoye donc e compa baptande, which means I'm Haitian, so I listen to compa.
all right, all right.
But yeah, I listen to compa, I listen to soca, I listen to reggae, I listen to hip hop, rap. Honestly, anything that has a beat to it, I'm gonna listen to it.
All right. Again, so again, I'm gonna say, as a young man, a young author, you seem very knowledgeable, very educated, very in depth. What would you say your core values are as an entrepreneur or an author?
Huh. I love how you asked me that question because I asked that question to a lot of people on my podcast. And so the way I would answer that question is one thing I value a lot is loyalty. And I think that is something that has been mixed up in a lot of places. I think we often see loyalty as you do something for me, I do something for you on a transactional thing. True, that is how it gets started. But you also gotta stick with me through thick and thin, right? If I'm running low on something, best believe I'm coming to you for help. If you're running low on something, best believe I want you to ask me for help. That's how that that's how that transactional thing should go moving forward. If let's say I come to you for something and I don't necessarily have something to give to you. I came to you because I trust you that you could help me with what I have, which is another thing I value, which is trust, right? I think another thing that relationships kind of lack is trust. You remove the T, you get the rust. So trust takes time to build, which is time. So it takes time to build, yes. And so if you persist over time, you could create that trust, and that could be something great. And resilience is probably another thing I'll value because it took me over 3 years to write the book. It was a long process. I'm sure Pierce would agree. But over time, we worked at it. We persevered. We continued, and that's another thing that my parents instilled in me from early, which was the power to resist, the power to be persistent, the power to be resilient, and not give up.
All right, all right. I love that. Thank you very much. So let me throw it casual one more time, Justin. Where was the last place you went on vacation?
All right. So the last place I went on vacation was I went to last place was I went to New York.
All right,
New
and again, so
York.
that was for vacation, not for business, right?
Man, depends how you look at it.
I
It
know a
depends how
lot
you
of
look
a
at
lot of people tell me that when I ask that question, a lot of people tell me that when they go on vacation, it either ends up being business
it. Look,
related or they try to make contacts and get links, and
listen,
so it turns into
listen,
business either way.
listen, Jamal. I invested in an Uvu card. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like a card that has a QR code at the back, and you could program it to put your links and all that. So I
Okay.
traveled with that, and when I could, I would talk about my book, give them the card to scan. They would scan it, look at it, and do that. So depends how you look at it. Never not sell.
All right, all right, okay, okay, all right. So let's get back to business. So
Sure.
in writing such an in-depth book, where would you say is, because it looks like, are you in the school right now?
No, I'm actually. It's funny. I'm here because I actually have a soccer game I have to go to,
Oh,
but
okay, okay.
that's why I'm
So
here.
So where would you say is your writing sanctuary? Where do you go when you need to get down and start writing and doing your research?
My room, which is in the basement.
All right.
I turn on my music. I write. I think. I reflect and just go with the flow. That's a rule I have of myself, though. Because like even the last book I have, I started it when I was like around 15, 16. So like the last book I'm gonna publish is gonna be a social trilogy, and it's gonna examine the psychology behind family, friend, and romantic relationships. And so during that time, like 15, 16-year-olds go through stuff. So the rule I made for myself was that if I can't find something better to write, I leave it as raw as that.
Makes
If I
sense.
can find something better, then I put it and I scratch what I had first. But there's going to be some raw things from a 16-year-old perspective that I think even sometimes 30 people who are 32, 34, or even 45, who knows, will read that and be like, damn, that's so true. That's what I believe in. I'm going to leave it at that.
All right, all right, all
If
right.
I'm
No problem
if I'm
there.
45 and I'll agree with my 16-year-old self, I'm sure other people will too.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. So with a book of your topic, um, where have you had the most memorable, let's say, fan experience or the most memorable reaction to your book?
Huh. That must have been when I won the award. Because at the time, actually not at the time, when I emailed when I emailed it to get it in the awards and all that, when I got the email coming back that I won the award, I went on the website and I realized that me and Pierce, we were the only self-published authors, and to us that was a huge thing. We were fifth, like there was five, four others were one was a winner, all the other four were published with the organization. We were the only self-published ones. So in our heads, we were like, if we could go up against these big dogs, self-published
Self-published
at
and still win.
22, and still win at 22, we got this. This is a win in our books.
Yeah,
It was
I
incredible.
definitely co-sign that because, like you mentioned, number one, you're self-published, right?
Mhm.
Um, two young guys, somebody of Haitian descent, and where's Pierce from? What's his background?
French.
So we got two people who are different backgrounds collaborating. You guys are young guys. You're self-published, and then you're able to compete with all these, let's say, professionals in the industry, and you're able to do it at a level where they're able to understand your perspective on it and still win the award. I definitely um think that's something special and something definitely to great to be proud of. So tell us the name of the award again and when you won that award.
So the award itself is IBA, which is International Book Awards. And so we came finalist in the category of education, which is the category I entered my book for. And so that's what I that's what it was.
That's what it was.
And yeah, and so the award I got was like I was able to like put stickers in the book. I got a plaque that says like International Book Award finalist
Okay.
of the name of the book, both authors, and from there, like it featured in a magazine, in the literature department. It's called Voraga, and yeah. So far, I'm doing great. I
You're
think I'm
doing
doing
great.
good.
Well, I definitely have to agree with you there. So, staying on that topic, we know your book is about education. We know it's about the prison system. We know it's about workplace. Now, and I assume it's written from the Canadian perspective. But where do you see your book in terms of global reach or global expansion? Is there a market for your book outside of Canada?
Yes, and the reason for that is because the school I went to, which is De La Salle, it was very multicultural, and I even had like I had African teachers, I had English teachers, I had Spanish teachers, and all that, and coming from different backgrounds and everything. And even though they were here, they very well emulated the teaching style from back home. So much so that I remember I was talking to a girl at a place that I volunteer with, and she was telling me about her experience in school when she was back in Africa, and how teachers pride themselves on making their exams super hard and be able not to pass, and that is their status quo. And I'm like, that's the same thing here. We're not we're not different. I can name on the top of my head like 5 teachers that I went through hell with just because I couldn't answer their simple questions. Well, simple in air quotes on a test, right? But again, if they'd see me now, they'd be like, "Oh, congratulations!" Like, well, yeah, you could tell me the same thing, but for some reason you didn't want to. Why? Because you pride yourself on the exam being hard.
And making it hard. So again, so people don't pass, or to make it seem like, oh, they're doing good at teaching because this work is extra hard, instead of making it a way for people to understand and learn. They pride themselves, like you said, it's standard to make it so hard that nobody can pass it. But honestly, what's there's no benefit for that. If everyone is not learning and nobody's able to pass it, then how do you even know what if what you're teaching is reflecting?
True.
So so let me ask you this. um when was the last time you yourself got immersed in a good book?
Ooh. If I'd say my own, I would be a bit cocky there. But honestly, the last time I immersed myself in a good book would be one I read by Jay Shetty, which is either Think Like a Monk or 8 Rules of Love. That was one. Another one was the author I talked about, Michael Gazzo, and he wrote a book about living with Tourette syndrome, and that was his biography. And I normally don't read autobiographies, but I read that one. And I'm like, oh, I love it. Like it was very well researched, very well thought after, and I really saw his journey from when he was born to like where he is now. So it was a good book.
All right, okay. Thank you for that. So earlier you mentioned that part of the issue that we're having in society is that the education system and things were built off the Industrial Revolution. So why do you think it's important for authors, readers, educators to adapt to a changing landscape in society?
Well, I believe that's funny. Again, I'm gonna go back to my dad again. My dad told me the quote of I think it was not Albert Einstein, sorry, Charles Darwin, who said, I'll say it in French, uh, les animaux qui survivent, c'est pas les plus forts, c'est les plus intelligents, parce qu'ils savent s'adapter. In other words, you see change, you adapt to it. You know something's coming, you adapt to it. You know that the earth, when the earthquake's going to happen, you adapt to it after the fact. There's an industrial age revolution, we adapt to the machines being on our side. So all through history, we were able to see change, or maybe not see it, but able to adapt to it to the best of our abilities. And now it's just we gotta do it again. We gotta adapt to the fact that there's a lot of things that we could learn on our own, a lot of things that we could learn by ourselves and through other people, through interaction, through just learning, failing, getting up, trying again, and that itself is a lesson. So there's going to be a lot less of like sitting in a class, listening to a teacher. Sure, you could still do that, but for the basis of it, you could. There's a lot of things you could learn by doing, and that is probably one of the best ways you could learn.
All right. Well, I definitely agree with you there. Some of the best lessons that we learn are from real life experiences, trial and error. They say nothing tried, nothing failed. So these are all that different ways that people say experience matters.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I definitely agree with you there. So Justin, why do you think a reader would be drawn to your book?
Well, I'm gonna say one thing. If I'm gonna say a couple things, if they graduated in 2020 from high school, they will know that it sucked to not have a prom, to not have a formal graduation, and to not see your friends for a good damn 3 months of your last year of high school. Now, obviously, that's only the tip, but that's I'm talking to all students when I say it just sucked for the last year, right? We went through all this last 3 months of our education. Were actually last 3 months or last year. First, there was a strike going on in high schools where it uh, learning days were cut by like 4 days, even 3 days a week, on multiple weeks. Then after that, they did like a week or two March break. Then COVID hit. Then you had to go online. Then this and that. So we were just thrown in multiple directions. And on top of that, you had seniors like me who were going through their last year. So we're like, come on, really? And so that's only one aspect of it. But again, like the pandemic kind of shifted for everyone. So it's not to say that my experience was worse because I'm not a teacher and I didn't have to transition my whole class online, or I'm not a parent, so I had to juggle with working from home and taking care of my kids and cooking supper and blah blah blah. It's not about comparing who has it worst. It's about understanding where we each come from and help each other. Because like I had a teacher who was online, and he put it to straight. He gave us two options. He's like, look, I could do what the ministry told us to do and give you guys extra work and give you guys extra homework and grade you on that and pretend we were at school. Or we can meet on here once a week and talk about our goals and aspirations. Because at the end of the day, he knows that he's at home and he does not want to be at school. Same for us. So that we have that in common. He's a parent, so he knows that he has better stuff to do. And we are children, so we also have better stuff to do. So we know that school right now, since we're at home and since we're in our last years of education, we know that we're not thinking about school. We're thinking about after. So it's like, all right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about your dreams. Let's talk about your goals. Let's talk about what we're gonna do after, because technically you graduated.
Yeah, because that's what matters. Again, it doesn't make sense sitting there reflecting on things that nobody really wants to talk about, and because everybody's by themselves separated, you're not gonna really, you're not going to really get the experience that you want talking about the now. So let's talk about the future. Let's talk about where we want to go, because in order to, like they say, in order to kind of know where you want to go, you kind of gotta you gotta focus on that, and talk about those goals. um
Precisely.
so let me see. So say if there's somebody who's watching, who has these ideas, or has an idea for a book, or thinks that they have solutions to a problem. um why do you think emerging authors should prioritize the craft of writing, and putting their ideas out there?
I'm going to reference my parents a lot in this interview. Another quote that my dad told me in law, and I think it's in Latin. It's called scripta mano, which is basically les paroles s'envolent, les écrits restent. So whatever we say, it's going to float in the air, disappear. The writings will stay, right? And all throughout history, all throughout the time, we realize that a lot of things stick to us, year by year, decade by decade, year by year, and all that. And we say that if you want to read, if you want to learn, if you want to learn a new idea, read an old book. That's something that Jay Shetty said.
Yeah, i do
And
i do
like,
remember hearing that quote before.
yeah, so you go into a library, you read all these books. You have all of how you could study how people used to live, people used to do things, and all that. And from there, you could track evolution. So books are there not only to feed the knowledge, but to actually to provide data for the next generation. You know, even though books suck, even though books are annoying to read, they still help people to like know where we came from, to know where we're going. So in
Makes
some ways,
sense.
it can be very important.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, so Justin, we know that there's other books out there that talk about the education system. We know that there's books and movies that talk about the prison system. Um, but what would you say makes your book unique from others out there that might be on a similar topic? What makes your book unique?
I think what makes my book unique is the fact that actually this is what it is. What makes my book unique is even though it's the tip of the iceberg, as a lot of people will say, I put in the question and ask them if it's the tip of the iceberg and it's so interesting, don't you want to know what lies beneath? And I say that because a lot of people who have re- listened to read my book, gave reviews and all that, have said that it's it's like a fire starter because it starts a passionate conversation. Get what I did there? So it starts a conversation. It makes people think. It makes people analyze. It makes people reflect, react, conversations, and that's something that the school system is all about. So if I have a book that indirectly puts that message out there, that's good. Also, I take six topics that could have probably been six books on their own and merge them in a way that they all make sense. Because again, if you have a 200-page book for every chapter I talk about, it would be long, right?
A lot of reading.
Exactly. And if we're talking about digestible, and if we're talking about the body, and if we're talking about, food, we know that naturally we ingest, the body takes what it needs and leaves the rest to waste, right? That's just a natural body thing. So I think learning is the same thing. Yeah, I could have wrote a book on 200 pages on each problem, but again, you would only retain what's proper to you, and that is different from every other person because every person has different metabolism, and we all know how metabolism works, right? So even if my book is so digestible in such an important manner, they're going to still take different things from it. But if they could all come together and communicate their different ideas in a respectful way, obviously, then I think we succeeded.
I definitely agree with you there. Definitely agree with you there. So I know earlier on you mentioned one of the reasons you took the self-publishing route was because of the fees and things, the exuberant fees that some of these publishing houses were charging. But I know from being an entrepreneur myself that that doesn't mean that you were without expenses. So how did you fund the initial stages of your business, or the your business journey? Was it something that you had to save up? Did you get a loan? Did you have family and friends to help you? The viewers want to know.
Well, first of all, I met a certain Jawix who helped me with, he said it's all about the base. So if the base is solid, you could go up. So that's an important thing to realize. And so if I realize if I make myself a solid base, I'm able to go up. So basically, with that, I went through friends, family, have them read it, criticize it, talk about it. I went, my grandfather. We talked about it on my book. I also have my podcast that I made that I interviewed guests that I talk about my book in depth, and also have my co-author on it as well. So all those venues make my book recognizable and noticeable to people, and well, hopefully with less fees as possible. But yes,
So you kind
that's
of
how I
put
did it.
put your feet to the ground and made it work.
Yeah, but
So
again, just one more thing. Again, like going back to the first thing I said, my parents are an anchor to what am doing because I'm able to adventure, I'm able to explore, and not too much worry about okay, how is this going to bring me money? Even though that's what we all want, but focusing on that soul aspect will kind of destroy the craft behind it.
Yes, I love that. I love that. If you're focusing on the financial part about it, then you're gonna lose the essence of what you're actually doing and trying to get out there. So I love that. I love that. And another entrepreneur told me as well something something along the same lines. If you're just focusing on the money, then you're already at a loss because
Yeah.
everything takes money to get done. Well, not everything, but most things take money, but it's the journey that's the most important part.
Yeah.
So how do you stay as a young entrepreneur, as a young writer who's getting into such important topics, talking about education, talking about the working system, talking about the prison system? Like how do you stay motivated as an entrepreneur, as a youngster in the game? You know, let us know.
Funny enough, I think I love my parents. So I say that because another thing that my dad told me, and I again saw it with reading upon Jay Shetty, was that young people have a lot of energy and they just feel like they could take on the world. Maybe that's one of my faults of me being young. I feel like I could take over the world. So I have all this energy. I need to spend it. If I spend it right, though, I can maximize my energy. And so when I get to the point where I actually have the funds to do all that, I could double, triple down on what I had and just elevate that further. Right? I have the time to explore, the time to go, the time to do this and that. Focus. I narrowed down what I like, what I don't like, double down what I like, go full on for that. Then when the money starts coming in, then I could uh, um, accelerate it.
All right, that makes sense. So with that being said, and staying on that tip there, how do you balance work life commitments, being an author, playing soccer, being in school? How do you and promoting your book to a certain level? How do you balance all this and to a level?
Well, now that I'm not in university, I think that takes a big weight on my shoulders because my friend and co-author would agree that while he was in university trying to write a book was very hefty, and he would agree that it took a lot of his time. Again, I thank him for that. So, given that I'm not in school, that gives up a lot of my time to venture out and promote my book. But again, I don't know, here's a hot take that I'm going to tell you. You know, let's say when I would go for a walk or go somewhere, I don't have the intent to market something. If I have a chance to, you best believe I'm gonna take it. Right? I'm not like I need to find the next market thing. I stumbled on you and I stumbled on you just by scrolling through Instagram. Why? I don't know. I was just scrolling. I was just looking. I'm like, oh, potential marketplace. What's this about? Met the Jamal, met the Jarek about the base, and next thing you know, we got this. So I wasn't looking for it, but I found it.
But you
And I
found it.
took the opportunity, right? Toronto, LA, I took the opportunities. And it's all about like trying to find the next, like, yes, you could try to find the next place, try to find the next thing, but it will come at some point.
Yeah, a lot of things. Sometimes you get links and meet people organically, and just like you said, imagine you were just scrolling Instagram, taking a walk, scrolling Instagram casually. You came across my page promoting LA, and you said, "Oh, this is an opportunity
It was
to
Toronto
get."
first, but yeah,
Oh yes, so sorry, you seen the ad for the book fair and you said,
yes.
"Hey, this is a marketing opportunity. Let me lock in there." So that was number 1.
Hmm.
Then because you were locked into the network, you saw me
Yeah,
promoting the Los
yeah,
Angeles venture. You
yeah.
said, "Hey, there's another venture there organically, so let me lock in there."
And
And then
just
mhm,
and just as you were saying that, I saw you were marketing the marketplace, the book marketplace in Ajax or whatever.
the book fair, yes.
Yeah, so I would like to actually get I would actually get like to get the
Excuse me,
yeah.
you are coming for your student here?
No, I'm just doing an interview right now.
Huh?
I'm doing an interview right now.
Okay.
So as I was saying, like I was
You seen
I,
the
I
thing in Ajax.
yeah, I saw the thing in there, so I would like to get information on that so I could actually promote my book at that marketplace. So it's just about seeing those opportunities and trying to take them.
And then again, like you mentioned, you came to the marketplace and then ended up organically meeting Cabrina, even Michelle
Yes.
Publishing, who was able to help you elevate your process even more. And all this was not something that you said to yourself, all right, today I'm gonna go look for people to connect with. Everything
Mm,
just happened organically. So I love that as
precisely.
well. Um
Precisely.
so Justin, how did you manage like writer's block and things like that along your journey?
It's funny because I actually asked that question to like every author I ask on my podcast. I ask them that question, and simply, the way I did it was very easy. Since I am very focused on my writing journey and my writing things, I know inspiration will come. So when I hit a wall, I'm not a dinosaur. I'm not a deer. I'm not a rhinoceros. I'm not what you call those animals, Stegosaurus, T Rex. They all have big heads. They think that they're so stubborn. They think they could bump through everything. I'm not that animal. So I'm like, I see a wall. All right, let me take the stairs. Let me take the elevator. Let me see where the door is. And in other words, I just walk away, take a walk, listen to music. I know the inspiration will come. It'll take a time. And when it comes though, you best believe I'm on my laptop for 2 hours writing.
Expanding it, writing it down,
You best
seeing where
believe.
it could go.
And and even when I'm walking, I ruminate to myself about what I wrote. It's always working up in here sometimes.
All right, so Justin, just a couple more questions here. Um, how how can aspiring entrepreneurs or authors learn from your journey?
Oof. That's a. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's a tough question. And the reason why that's a tough question is because I know I'm not done yet.
Okay, okay, I like that.
But but if I had to give one tip, that would be to when you see a chance, take it because you have no idea when it's gonna come back. When it does come back, take it again. Like almost every chance you have, take it. That would be my advice.
Okay,
And
so
again, whatever it is,
with that being said, you said when you see a chance, take it. Now, Justin, sometimes you might see an opportunity and it may be a risky one. So how do you manage the risks, the risk and responsibilities of making a decision? Do you reflect with your friends and your family? Do you go back to your parents? Do you just say, all right, here's the opportunity, let me take it? How do you manage those risks and responsibilities?
I'll actually give you an example. So when you, well, it depends. When okay, so you had the one in Toronto, right? You had the one in Toronto, the one in LA. Okay, I said I'm going to Toronto because Toronto was close. It's a 4 hour train ticket, and I had an adventure. I had a fun blast. You were going to LA, however. I'm like, let me sit this one out. I'm still trying to figure out my finances. I'm still trying to figure out this and that. So I'm like, the book is there. Let me sit this one out. I had another chance to go to New York. This one I'm going to, right? So it's all about gauging where your situation is, gauging where you want to go, and making that judgment call. And it comes, it's every time you gotta make that judgment call. If you have people that could help you, that's wonderful. If let's say my parents were able to fund me the things to go to LA, great, I would have taken it. But I didn't know that, so I said, you know what? Let me sit this one out. Let me let me assess it. Let me see where I can, while I'm sitting it out. Let's see how I could make it better.
I love that. I love that. All right, Justin. So we found out we heard about why you started to write the book. We heard about some of what the book's about. We heard about some of the accomplishments that you've had along the journey, as well as self editing, self publishing with your co partner Pierce. Um, and we also heard about some of your approach to marketing, branding, taking risk, and things like that. Now, tell the people, where can they find your book? Where can they find your works? And how can they get in contact with you?
Okay, so you could find my book on Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes and Nobles, and the title is Academic Revolution. And hopefully, you won't see two books pop up. If you see a cover in blue, that's not the one because it probably won't come. The one that you'll see, it's the one that Eva Mitchell and family did the rebranding for, and it's gonna be in a golden cover, and it's gonna have the IBA awards on the cover. So that's the one you go for. And so my podcast, you could find it on most major streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Anchor, Pocket Cast, and it might actually air on a couple of radio stations in the near future. So probably 89.1 FM and 93, 90, 93.1 CKCU and CHUO. No, CKCU and CHUO, yes. And that's where my podcast is going to be aired. And also my website, which is just encyclopedia at weebly.com.
All right, perfect. Well, so Justin, first of all, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your energy. I want to thank you for being so personal with your journey and your stories. Before we close out the interview, are there any words of inspiration, words of motivation, or any advice that you could give to the general public out there, or any authors or any entrepreneurs? I'm gonna give you the floor to spread your wisdom.
Well, I guess I will say, like you say, Jamal, it's all about the base. It's all about creating a solid foundation. It's all about creating solid foundation and making sure that from there you could perpetuate yourself to go up. And don't be afraid to fall, because if you have that good base, you will bounce back. That's what trampolines are for.
No,
And that's what
I
trampolines are for.
love that. I love that. I love that comparison because,
That's
like you
what
said,
trampolines are for.
if you have a solid base, then you always have something to fall back on,
Yeah,
and at the same time, it also gives you something to bounce back up with.
that's what trampolines are for. Exactly.
So I love that. I love that, Justin. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I've been interacting with you since earlier on this year, and I've had nothing but pleasure. Every time I speak with you, I learn something new. So again, I just want to thank you for taking the time to be on the show. Um, and you mentioned that you have a couple more books in the works. Do you want to give us a little sneak peek about what your next book might be about?
Oh, I already know what it's about. It's going to be called Sports Psychology, or I like to match it up as Sportsology. And it's going to be about how sports and psychology interact. And I mean, some could say it's a spin off of Academic Revolution because it's kind of what school left out of education, and that's the integration of physical activity in sports and what we could learn from that. So I take that topic and I expand on it. I go through 9 different sports. I examine the rules, the gameplays, and the popular culture behind those sports, and I analyze them and put them together in a book. And I talk about a lot of things, a lot of, let's say, psychological concept like self-talk, self-motivation, teamwork, team player motivation, things like that. And that's in that book.
All right, perfect. So before we go, let me throw it off one more quick question since we're talking about sports. Justin, what is your favorite sport?
I mean, I don't mean to throw you on the under the bus, but I just missed my soccer game talking to you. So soccer, that's my favorite sport. But it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. I'll play. I'll play later. I'll play.
Well,
I'll play next week.
I do apologize about that.
It's
You know
all
what I
good.
mean? But the entrepreneurs out here, I think they needed to hear these words. I think they needed to hear these stories. Again, from hearing these words from a young 22-year-old, diving into such such heavy topics. I think it's very important, and I think honestly, even for myself, I think it's very inspiring and motivating. So again, I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank you for your words of inspiration, from motivation, and our hopes are that the people watching are able to use that along their journey to get whatever they need to do in the works and on the go. So again, Justin, thank you very much for being on EPG Biz Talk Behind the Brand. And whenever that new book is coming out, we do hope that you come back on here so we can do another interview and talk about those stories as well.
Hopefully by 2030, but yes.
All right, Justin. So you have a great evening, and we will definitely talk.
All right.
All right, people. We were just speaking with Justin Louis John, the author, the co-author, I should say, of Academic Revolution. A works that compares the prison system to the education system to the working system, and these are topics that I think are very important because because these things actually do coexist, and when you actually sit down and think about it, you would be surprised and amazed at the similarities between these three industries on how they operate, how they manage, and how they try to lead us a certain way. But don't take my word for it. Go on Amazon, go on Barnes and Noble, hit up Justin Louis John and find out about that book. Get your copy today and hear his take on the systems. We eagerly await the next book, where it's going to talk about the comparisons between sports and psychology. Again, we got to hear his some of his inspiration from his parents. We love to see people get real life inspiration from their family. We heard so much great quotes from his father. So I want to shout out his parents as well for supporting him along the journey, because having that family support is something that goes unmatched. It's something that we all could use. It's something that we all could need. Again, people, we are here every Wednesday. This is EPG Behind the Brand. Today we were talking to Justin Louis John, 22-year-old co-author of a very important book. People, we will be back next week with more great entrepreneurs. If you are an entrepreneur and you want to be on the show, you want to tell your story, you want to talk about your business, hit us up on the email, hit us up on the website, epgfx.com, and we'll be here to tell your story and to talk about the biz. You know what it is right here. Let's go.